All right, the last video for section 8, for lesson 8 here, deals with percentiles. So we start kind of with the concept of quartiles. Quartiles means splitting things into fourths. So if we have like a set of data here, and I say the 50th percentile, right, cuts it in half. And then and that's the median that we're used to talking about. And then the 25th percent would be half of the first part, and 75th would cut half of the last part. So here the red would represent 50, blue would represent 25, and C would represent 75. And if you notice, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 equal parts. So 50th percentile is the median, 25th percentile is the median of the first half, and the 75th percentile is the median of the second half. So examples. We start on page 65 with example number 1. And we're going to find the 50th, the 25th, 50th, and 75th percentiles. So we're going to start by finding the median, or the 50th. And I'm going to do that in green. So again, we're going to say, okay, let's cut out the sides here. We go through each one. So working my way in. And you notice that I have exactly one number in the middle. So the 50th percentile is 186. And we've used it. So it's over. I'm going to get rid of the rest of these. But because I've used the 186, I don't get to play with it again. So I'm going to go to shades of blue for the 25th percentile. Now the 25th percentile only focuses on the front half, and I need the median of that. So work my way in. Boom. There are 2 numbers in the middle there. So again, I find the average. I add them together, 164 plus 176 divided by 2, and my 25th percentile is 170. All right, because it's right there in the middle. Let's go for shades of orange for the 75th percentile because we're on the second half, and I need the median of these. So I cross up the last 2, boom, 2 numbers in the middle, add those together, divide it by 2, and the 75th percentile is going to be 195.5. So we have found the 25th, the 50th, and the 75th percentiles for that set of data. There you go. So let's go to page 66, number 2. And the first thing you should notice is they're not in order. So go ahead, hit pause, put them in order, and go ahead and try to find the 25th, 50th, and 75th percentile, and then come back and we'll show you the answers. Okay, so I put them in order, and now I'm going to go ahead and find my 50th percentile. So 1, 2, I'm going to get 3 there, 3 on this side, 2 on this side, 2 on this side. Notice I have 2 in the middle. So my 50th percentile is found by taking the average, which would be right in the middle, 75.5. So now, when I need to find my 25th percentile, I'm dealing with the front part. Notice how I use 75 because it was not exclusively the 50th percentile. So when I find the 25th, I work my way in. 1, 2, 1, 2. I have these 2 numbers in the middle, and so right between them would be the 25th. And then when I get to the 75th over here, I'm looking for right between those 2. And if you add 83 plus 87 and divide by 2, you get 85. So now that we have the concept down, I want you to go ahead. This is an extra example, not in your packet. It's a Becky special. We've got, I don't remember how many numbers here, but go ahead and work through the 50th, 25th, and 75th percentile, and then hit pause, work through it, come back, and I'll have the answers on there. Okay, so you'll notice the 25th percentile is 58, the 50th is 71.5, and the 75th is 95.5. I put the markings in, so, you know, this would be 50, this one would be 25, and here's the 75. Notice in between them, I just think this is, well, I guess I'm a geek, so that's why I think this is cool, but 4 numbers, 4 numbers, 4 numbers, 4 numbers. Remember, we talked about that. This splits it up into 4 equal pieces. And so I just wanted to kind of point that out because it's, you know, I'm a geek and it's cool. And if I think it's cool, you should think it's cool. So just stop and start thinking it's cool. Yeah, exactly. All right, last thing I want to talk about is just questions. Question 3, A through D, on page 66. This is kind of interesting stuff, and it kind of goes back to some of the information we had before. So Sub-Saharan Africa is home to nearly 10% of the world's population, and an estimated 25 million people from this region have HIV. So, letter A, estimate the population of Sub-Saharan Africa from the world population. So first of all, the world population is 7.2 billion. So when I'm working this out here in part A, I got to think, okay, the world population, they say 10%. So percent over 100. I know the whole world is 7.2 billion, and I'm trying to find how many of that here is in Sub-Saharan Africa. So if I'm going to set it up as a proportion, that's what I got. And when you work it out, you do the math, cross multiply, you get 0.72. And remember, consistency, both of these numbers would have to be considered in billion. So billion is 9. If I would move my decimal 9 places, that means add 7 zeros. You can also think of this in terms of 720 million. Okay, and if you have questions on that, let me know. So when I go down, okay, so that's question A. Question B, there are 35 million people in the world with HIV. What percent of those with HIV live in Sub-Saharan Africa? Okay, so think about it this way. What percent? So percent is always over 100. 35 million people in the world. That's the total number in the world, 35 million. Well, up here, they tell us 25 million people have HIV in this region. So okay, so over here, these two numbers both are in millions. So we're good, right, to just have the 25 and the 35. So do your cross multiplying, and we will end up here at about 71.4%. So when we're talking about the HIV, people with HIV in the world, 71.4% of them live in Sub-Saharan Africa, which is kind of really kind of sad for that part of the world. But then when you look at question C says, what percent of the Sub-Saharan Africa population has HIV? So again, we're dealing with what percent? Well, we know that 25 million have HIV, right? Well, how many people does the Sub-Saharan Africa actually have? And we found that here in part A, right? 720 million people live in Sub-Saharan Africa, and 25 million people have HIV. Notice they're both in millions. That was part of the reason why in part A I went to millions. So now when I cross multiply, I get an X value of 3.5%. So only 3.5% of the population in Sub-Saharan Africa actually have HIV. You know, they have so many people, so that's why. And then in letter D, in 1993, the median age of death in Sub-Saharan Africa was under 5 years of age. What does this tell us? Well, if you think about the median's in the middle. So half of the data is over here, and half the data is over here. So if the median was 5 years old, that means half the people died before they even got to 5 years old. And that I think is probably the saddest thing to think about in this situation, because of, you know, medication and the living situations and water and all that fun stuff of what's happening over there. You know, half the people die before they even get 5 years old, and the other half, you know, die after that. But you know, 5 years old just seems really young to me. But it is what it is. So that is the last video for Section 8 at this time.